What we read the last time, which was not last week, it was the week before last, no? This wonderful, radiant Godhead was still telling Savitri that it is impossible for her to take living Shraddhavan back to earth. And instead, he is urging her to leave the earth and come and live in these heavens, which he says she richly deserves. That is her true home. That is where she should be. And then she and Shraddhavan can be together in a different kind of union. But Savitri answered to the radiant God, "In vain thou tempt'st with solitary bliss two spirits saved out of a suffering world. My soul and his, indissolubly linked in the one task for which our lives were born, to raise the world to God in deathless light, to bring God down to the world. On earth we came to change the earthly life to life divine. I keep my will to save the world and man. Even the charm of thy alluring voice, O blissful Godhead, cannot seize and snare. I sacrifice not earth to happier worlds. Because there dwelt the Eternal's vast idea and his dynamic will in men and things, so only could the enormous scene begin. Whence came this profitless wilderness of stars, this mighty barren wheeling of the suns? Who made the soul of futile life in time, planted a purpose and a hope in the heart, set nature to a huge and meaningless task, or planned her million eon efforts waste? What force condemned to birth and death and tears these conscious creatures crawling on the globe? If earth can look up to the light of heaven and hear an answer to her lonely cry, not vain their meeting, nor heaven's touch a snare. If thou and I are true, the world is true. Although thou hide thyself behind thy works, to be is not a senseless paradox. Since God has made earth, earth must make in her God. What hides within her breast, she must reveal. I claim thee for the world that thou hast made. If man lives bound by his humanity, if he is tied forever to his pain, let a greater being then arise from man, the superhuman with the eternal mate, and the immortal shine through earthly forms. Else were creation vain, and this great world a nothing that in time's moments seems to be. But I have seen through the insentient mask. I have felt a secret spirit stir in things, carrying the body of the growing God. It looks through veiling forms at veilless truth. It pushes back the curtain of the gods. It climbs towards its own eternity. Which side will we begin this week? You will start?
But Savitri answered to the radiant God, in vain thou temptest with solitary pleas, two spirits saved out of a suffering world, my soul and is indissolubly linked in the one task for which our lives were born, to raise the world to God in deathless light. To bring God down to the world on earth we came, to change the earthly life to life divine.
Thank you. So this is her answer. Why are you tempting us with this solitary bliss? She wants all these gifts that he is offering for the whole world, for earth and man. No? So she says, it's useless for you to try tempting us as two spirits, Savitri and Shraddhavan, saved out of a suffering world. That's not what we want. No? My soul and his soul, Shraddhavan's soul, are indissolubly linked. They cannot be separated. It's from the word to dissolve. If something is indissoluble, it cannot be dissolved. So they are linked together forever. They can't be separated. And they've been born on earth for this one task. That is why they are living as human beings on earth. To raise the world, this material world, to raise it up to the godlike state in deathless light, immortal light. No? And to raise the world up and to bring God down into the world. That is why we came on earth, she says, to change the earthly life to life divine. What a beautiful reply. It's clear. Anybody wants to ask anything? This is their mission. Yes. The joint mission of Savitri and Shraddhavan. Sarojini.
I keep my will to save to want and man. Even the charm of thy alluring voice of blissful Godhead cannot cease and snare. I sacrifice not yet who have appeared once.
Thank you. She says, I'm keeping my will to save the world and human beings. And although you have such a very beautiful and charming and alluring, attractive voice, oh, blissful Godhead, she calls him, you can't trap me, you can't get hold of me, you can't snare me. A snare is the kind of trap we use to catch a small bird or a small animal. Because I am not going to sacrifice the world, the material world, in order to live in happier worlds. Somewhere else she says, I know those happier worlds, I know them so well. I don't need to go there now. I have this task to do. And here she says, I'm not going to give up the earth for the sake of those happier worlds. Bhavan.
Because there dwelt the Eternal's vast idea, and his dynamic will in heaven sings, so only could the enormous scene be.
Yes. This enormous scene, this huge material universe. Why has it come into existence? It couldn't possibly have come into existence unless there was living within it a vast idea. And he gives the capital letter, this concept, this conception. The eternal had an idea and a purpose in bringing this world into existence. And that purpose is living within this whole material universe. And it expresses itself in a dynamic will towards its higher fulfillment. And that dynamic will gets expressed in the material world, in human beings, and even in things, in trees and animals and even material objects. This whole enormous scene could only begin because of this creative idea of the eternal. You read there.
Whence came this profitless idleness of stars, this mighty bare wheeling of the suns, who made the soul of fertile life in time, planted a purpose and a hope in their heart, set nature to a huge and meaningless task, or planned her linear inward efforts waste. What force columned to birth and death of tears, these conscious creations crawling on the
globe. Oh. Stop, that'll do. Please stop there. Yeah. Do you know this word whence? It means from where. This universe, we look out into the vastness of space, and there's this wilderness of stars, like a forest of stars, or a desert of stars in empty space. No? And she mocks him. She says, is it profitless? Is it useless? Purposeless? No? Is it barren? Barren means that nothing will grow there. No? Is this huge universe full of this mighty, powerful, barren wheeling of the suns, all these billions and trillions of suns that are whirling in our universe? Who has made the soul of futile life in time. Who could possibly make a soul of a life that would be useless, futile, no? That would have no purpose in time? Who has planted a purpose and a hope in the heart of every human being? Has that person really set nature to a huge and meaningless task which has no aim, no purpose, no significance, and planned her million eon efforts waste? This effort of nature has gone on for so many eons. Eons are immensely long stretches of time, and there have been millions of them. Is it all a complete waste? Who has done this? Who would have done this? What force has deliberately condemned to birth and death and tears all these conscious creatures who seem to be just crawling about like ants on our globe, on this globe of the earth? Can it really be like that, the way that you are saying? And she gives her version, which is quite different. Lady at the back, would you like to read? Is it Bon there? No? Can you read? Would you like to read?
You often look up to the light from heaven and prepare an answer to a lonely cry. That when there within your heavens touch us smell.
Thank you. So, if it's possible for human beings to look, or the earth itself to look up to the light of heaven with hope, and aspiration, and experience some answer, some response to her cry and her call, the meeting of earth and heaven is not in vain, and the touch of heaven on the earth is not a trap, it's not a snare. No? Mila, would you read next? Yeah.
If thou and I are true, the world is true. Although you hide thyself behind thy words, to thee is not a senseless paradox. Since God has made earth, earth must make in her God. What hides within her breast, she must reveal.
Thank you. So this is thou, you, if you, O blissful Godhead, are true, and if I am true, if we really exist, then this world that we exist in is true as well. You are hiding yourself, disguising yourself, hiding yourself by all these appearances that you have made. But existence is not a senseless paradox. A paradox is a contradictory statement, a statement that seems to contradict itself. The world is not like that. It's not meaningless. It's not so contradictory. There's a deeper meaning. Because God has made the earth, the material world, earth must make in herself God. She must evolve to reveal the divinity. What's hiding within her, that's you, O blissful Godhead. What's hiding within her, her breast, she must reveal. She will have to go on existing and working and toiling and suffering until that revelation comes about. Gentleman at the back there, would you read?
I came thee for the world that thou hast made. Man lives bound by his humanity, if he is tied forever to his pain. Let a greater being then arise from man, the superhuman with the external me, and the normal shine of earthly forms.
Thank you. Yes. She says, I'm claiming you for this world that you have made. And if it's true, what I've been told, she says, Death told her, now he was also saying that human beings can't become anything else but human beings. She says, if it's really true that man, the human race, lives bound by his humanity, tied up and limited always only to be human, if human beings are tied forever to their pain, their suffering, then you must let a greater being than humanity arise. Let a greater being then arise from man, from these human beings. Another nobler species must emerge, so that there will be superhuman beings on earth who can mate with the eternal, so that the immortal can shine through these earthly forms, these material forms. There has to be a transformation of the earthly forms to reveal the immortal divine part that is within. You like to read, Mom? No?
As your creation failed in this great work, another thing that in times moments seems to be. But I have seen you down innocent tears in the past. I have felt the secret springs here in things, carrying the body of the growing heart. It withdrew raining once that when is true. It pushes back the curtain of the light. It finds toward its own eternity.
Yes. She says, if it weren't like that, if the earth is not able to reveal the divine being, the divine presence that she's hiding within herself, then in fact this whole creation would be in vain. And this great world would just be an illusion, a nothing that only seems to exist in time, in the succession of the moments of time. But she says, I know that it's not like that, because I have seen through this mask of insentient matter. What is insentient doesn't have any senses, any consciousness, any awareness. So if we look at brute matter, it seems to be like that. But she says, this matter, this appearance of matter, is only a mask that you have put on to disguise yourself, to pretend to be not there, to hide yourself. No? I've seen through that mask of matter, and I have felt, I've experienced that in all these material things there's a secret spirit stirring, moving. No? And that secret spirit is carrying the body of the growing God, the God that is growing within, along with the evolution of the earth. It's a new idea for us, no? That God is growing. But if he has disguised himself as all this insentient, inconscient nothingness, he's also growing up through it, in it, and becoming more and more conscious, first in very simple living forms, then in more complex ones, then in thinking animals like human beings. And that process of growing God can't possibly be finished yet, because it will have to be completely revealed. No? So that within all this, behind the mask, there is this secret spirit which is carrying this whole process forward. And that secret spirit is looking through all these forms, these disguises. It's looking at the unveiled truth which is within them. And that spirit is pushing back the curtain of the gods, as if the gods, the cosmic powers, have put this curtain of appearances. No? But it's drawing back the curtain. It's revealing the truth, the presence that's behind the curtain. And what that secret spirit is doing is climbing up towards its own eternity, its own eternal and infinite transcendent state. And it's carrying with it the body, the earthly body of the growing God. What a wonderful reply. What a wonderful and powerful expression of Sri Aurobindo's vision of things. So what is he going to answer to her now? Alice, would you read?
But the God answered to the woman's heart, O living power of the incarnate Word, all that the Spirit has dreamed thou canst create. Thou art the force by which I made the worlds. Thou art my vision and my will and voice.
So he's really acknowledging who she is. He answers to the heart of this woman, this human woman, Savitri, but he tells her, you are a living power of the incarnate Word, the great creative Word, the original conscious force, incarnated in a human body. That's what you are, a living power of the incarnate Word. Savitri is an incarnation of the Supreme Divine Mother. So he tells her, you can create everything that the Spirit has dreamed. Whatever that idea of the eternal was, you have the power to bring it out, to manifest it, to create it. Because you are in fact the force, the original conscious force by which I have made the worlds. You are embodying my vision and my will and my voice. But then comes a but.
The word canst means can.
Thou canst, you can. Second person singular. Yes. Slava, would you read?
What knowledge too is vain, the word claim thou knowest, and the authority process of the place of time, in the impetuous drive of thy heart of flame, in thy passion to deliver man and earth, indigent at the
Impediments, yes.
Impediments of time and the slow evolutions, sluggard.
No, that's the sluggard.
Sluggard steps lead not the spirit in the ignorant world to dare to sow the adventure of the light, pushing the bound and slumbering boat in man, awakened need the ineffable silences into endless vistas of the unknown and unseen, across the vast
confines
of the limiting mind and the super consciousness,
perilous
border line into danger of the infinite.
So let's try and understand, what is this but? What is he telling her? He said that she is his voice and will and vision and creative force, but, he says, you also have knowledge. And he means true knowledge, not just the kind of knowledge that we have, the knowledge of the truth. And you know what is the world plan. And you also know about the tardy process, the slow unrolling process of time. So he says, he warns her. Basically what he's saying is, don't push man forward too quickly. Don't press evolution forward too quickly. He says, I know you want to do that because of your heart of flame. You've got that fiery, aspiring heart, and that there's an impetuous drive in that towards the future, towards new achievements. Our mother had this impetuous drive in her heart of flame, no? In your passion to deliver, to liberate man and earth, don't feel indignant. Don't become angry at the impediments of time. Impediments are obstacles, things that you put in front of somebody's feet so that their feet can't move freely. Impediments. Of course, time places impediments in front of us. We can't do everything that we would dream of all at once. There has to be this slow process of tardy time, the tardy process of the pace of time. And the evolution seems to move very slowly with sluggard steps. A sluggard is a person who is like a slug. Do you know what a slug is? It's like a snail without a shell, and it moves around very, very slowly, and it comes and eats up the vegetables in your garden. Moving along slow. So a sluggard is somebody who moves very, very slowly.
Sluggish is made from that word.
Yes, exactly, sluggish. Something is sluggish. It doesn't want to move. So he says, maybe you feel that evolution is like that. It's going too slowly. But don't lead the spirit in an ignorant world, this ignorant world of humanity. It's not ready for further advance, no? Don't lead it to dare too soon the adventure of the light, the adventure of the higher consciousness. Things have to be prepared, they have to take their time. Asleep within human beings, there's a God, a divine being, but he's slumbering, he's sleeping, and he's bound, he's tied up, limited, he can't move freely. So don't push that bound and slumbering God in man to wake up too quickly, to wake up and find himself in the middle of these ineffable solitudes. Ineffable, they can't be described or grasped by the mind at all. This vast emptiness of space, wakening up into the vastness of the universe, these endless vistas of the unknown and unseen. Don't push him across the last limits of the mind, the last confines, it means borderlines of a limiting mind. And across the borderline into the superconscious, and beyond that borderline into the infinite. That bound and slumbering God in man is not ready for that. Don't be in too much of a hurry. Those of you who were here when we were reading book 3 will remember that the mother said something exactly like this to Savitri's father, Aswapati. She told him, don't be in such a hurry. God's plan is going to be fulfilled. Don't be in such a rush. What you have won is for yourself, but the rest of the creation is not ready for this realization. So then what Aswapati said to her, he accepted it, but he said, but send part of yourself, an emanation of yourself, to speed things up on earth, because it's taking too long. And here is Savitri. She's been born in order to do that, to speed up the evolution. But she's having to listen to the same arguments, that it all takes time and you have to be patient. Dhanalakshmi.
But if thou wilt not wait for time of God, do then thy work and force thy will on fate. As I have taken from thee my load of night, and taken from thee my twilights, doubts, and dreams. So now I take my light of utter day. These are my symbol kingdoms, but not here. Can the great choice be made that fixes fate or utter the sanctions of the voice supreme?
Yes. But he does concede her something. He says, if you really are not willing to wait for the process of time and the slow unfolding of God, then you have the power. Do your work. Force your will on fate, on the fixed laws of the universe. I've taken away from you my load of night. She passed through that terrible world of everlasting night, and her soul conquered with its light. He says, I've taken away from you my load, the heavy load of darkness and unconsciousness. And I've taken away from you the twilights. She passed through the world of the double twilight, the twilight of the ideal and the twilight of the earthly real. My twilight's doubts and dreams. The dreams, the wonderful dreams, were there in the twilight of the ideal, and the doubts were there in the twilight of the earthly real. And now you're here in this world of everlasting day. I'm going to take this away from you as well. Because these are my symbol kingdoms. They are symbolic states of consciousness through which human beings pass. These are my symbol kingdoms. Darkness, twilight, day. But not here can the great choice be made. If you are going to impose your will on fate, you can't do it here in this heavenly world of everlasting day. Here that great choice can't be made. That choice that will fix fate, that will fix the way that things work out in the universe. And here you won't be able to get the sanction of the Supreme. You won't hear the sanction of the Lord saying yes. What does this mean? It means that in order to change the laws of the creation, she will have to pass beyond the creation, beyond the manifestation, out of all the symbol kingdoms and worlds. She will have to go somewhere else. And that's what comes next, Joelle. Yes.
I don't understand this sentence. So now I take my light of utter day.
Yes, she is at the moment in everlasting day. It's a kind of heaven where there's no night. And it's absolutely beautiful and marvelous. And that is where she has met this Godhead. And he has told her, you can stay here. You can enjoy this heaven with Shraddhavan. But she's refused it. She says, I have this mission to do for earth. So he says, if you're going to do that, if you insist on that, then I'm taking away from you all this symbol world that we are in now. You will have to go somewhere else to make your choice and to receive the sanction, the agreement of the Supreme. Is it clear? Yes? So, Joanne.
Arise upon the ladder of greater worlds to the infinity where no world can be, but not in the wide air where a greater life uplifts its mystery and its miracle, and not on the luminous peaks of summit mind, or in the hole where subtle matter's spirit hides in its light of shimmering secrecies, can there be heard the Eternal's firm command that joins the head of destiny to its base.
He says you're going to have to rise up on a ladder with many steps, a ladder of worlds, greater worlds, and you will have to rise beyond that ladder, beyond the top of that ladder. You will have to come into the infinity, the transcendent state where no world can exist. It's beyond all limits and limitations and determinations. The world of a greater life is not enough, not in the wide air where a greater life uplifts its mystery and its miracle. Aswapati also climbed up this ladder, no? He entered into the worlds of the greater life, and he went into the highest levels of mind, the luminous peaks of summit mind, and not in that secret place where subtle matter spirit. Aswapati visited the world of subtle matter, the subtle physical world. Subtle matter spirit hides in its light of shimmering secrecies, a world of unbelievable beauty, beauty of forms. In those worlds of subtle matter, of greater life, of mind, the Eternal's firm command cannot be heard. That word of the Supreme which connects the head of destiny, the highest level, with the base, with the foundation of matter.
It cannot be heard, but here it says, can there be heard? That means it cannot be.
He said not in line 832. He says not on the luminous peaks, not on 830, not in the wide air. So this not gets repeated. So we have to understand it here. Or not in the hold. No? Yes? I think we have to stop there for today. We will go on next time.
But Savitri answered to the radiant God, in vain thou tempt'st with solitary bliss two spirits saved out of a suffering world. My soul and his, indissolubly linked in the one task for which our lives were born, to raise the world to God in deathless light, to bring God down to the world on earth we came, to change the earthly life to life divine. I keep my will to save the world and man. Even the charm of thy alluring voice, O blissful Godhead, cannot seize and snare. I sacrifice not earth to happier world. because there dwelt the Eternal's vast idea and his dynamic will in men and things, so only could the enormous scene begin. Whence came this profitless wilderness of stars, this mighty barren wheeling of the suns? Who made the soul of futile life in time, planted a purpose and a hope in the heart, set nature to a huge and meaningless task, or planned her millioned eoned efforts waste? What force condemned to birth and death and tears these conscious creatures crawling on the globe? If earth can look up to the light of heaven and hear an answer to her lonely cry, not vain their meeting, nor heaven's touch a snare. If thou and I are true, the world is true. Although thou hide thyself behind thy works, to be is not a senseless paradox. Since God has made earth, earth must make in her God. What hides within her breast she must reveal. I claim thee for the world that thou hast made. If man lives bound by his humanity, if he is tied forever to his pain, let a greater being then arise from man, the superhuman with the eternal mate, and the immortal shine through earthly forms. Else were creation vain, and this great world a nothing that in time's moment seems to be. But I have seen through the insentient mask. I have felt a secret spirit stir in things, carrying the body of the growing God. It looks through veiling forms at veilless truth. It pushes back the curtain of the gods. It climbs towards its own eternity. But the God answered to the woman's heart. O living power of the incarnate Word, all that the Spirit has dreamed thou canst create. Thou art the force by which I made the worlds. Thou art my vision and my will and voice. But knowledge too is thine. The world plan thou knowest, and the tardy process of the pace of time. In the impetuous drive of thy heart of flame, in thy passion to deliver man and earth, indignant at the impediments of time and the slow evolution's sluggard steps. Lead not the spirit in an ignorant world to dare too soon the adventure of the light. Pushing the bound and slumbering God in man, awakened mid the ineffable silences, into endless vistas of the unknown and unseen, across the last confines of the limiting mind and the superconscious perilous borderline, into the danger of the infinite. But if thou wilt not wait for time and God, do then thy work and force thy will on fate. As I have taken from thee my load of night, and taken from thee my twilight's doubts and dreams, so now I take my light of utter day. These are my symbol kingdoms, but not here can the great choice be made that fixes fate, or uttered the sanction of the voice supreme. Arise upon a ladder of greater worlds, to the infinity where no world can be. But not in the wide air where a greater life uplifts its mystery and its miracle, and not on the luminous peaks of summit mind, or in the hold where subtle matter's spirit hides in its light of shimmering secrecies, can there be heard the Eternal's firm command that joins the head of destiny to its base.